The F1 paddock arrived in Singapore to the news that the external investigation into Sam's incident is now officially underway. This, of course, is stemming from what happened at the end of last season at the Las Vegas Grand Prix, in which Mark Davis apparently called out Sam for assaulting him during that race weekend. Now, there have been lots of different people taking different sides into the matter, but rather than McLaren doing their own personal investigation on the matter, an external investigation is now taking place. And there have been multiple different people taking their sides within this matter. Firstly, obviously, Zak Brown has defended Mark Davis for this entire situation, and he has banned Sam from McLaren full stop. Now, that is to do with Sam ever joining McLaren ever again. That is to do with Sam not allowed to enter the factory, not allowed to enter the garages, not allowed to speak with McLaren team personnel. It's gone all the way to the top, in which there is to be nothing to be seen between Sam and McLaren, and that is that. Mark Davis has come out and thanked Zak Brown for being what he has described as his brother in this entire situation. Mark Davis has said that whilst going public was an idea that Tom gave to him, which Tom continues to be very, very angry about, he has felt that he has finally understood who is rightfully somebody that he needs to trust and somebody that he can't no longer trust anymore in his life. And that this entire public investigation, something that he has said is something that he does not regret in the slightest. Now, Tom has called out Zak Brown as a new public enemy throughout the course of this situation. Of course, when there comes to be a problem, especially in terms of being within a team or, a company as well at the end of the day, you always need to rely on the big boss as somebody that you can turn to, and when there's a problem that goes wrong, you go ahead and you get it sorted in a fair and respectable manner. In this situation, Zak Brown has done nothing but defend Mark Davis throughout the course of it and has constantly been firing shots over towards Sam, showcasing not only favoritism, but when there are also other members of staff within McLaren that do actually believe the things that Sam has been saying, it goes to show where the team is overall in general. At the moment, it's very, very hostile, and Reese also agrees with this as he believes that Zak has some serious questions to answer. I'm sure we'll be getting many more opinions from many different teams, drivers, and other personnel as the weeks go by, but of course the waiting game is going to be now the entirety of this internal investigation, external should I say, and we'll find out more going forwards. Taking a look at the race news heading into this weekend, Aston Martin are back on form going into this practice sessions. Aston Martin were very, very poor in the last round at the Japanese Grand Prix, struggling a lot for grip in the high-speed corners, but here on this bumpy, low-speed circuit, it was definitely coming back to them, with both Tom and Piastri very happy with their car. A team that weren't happy with their car was Ferrari. They were having issues over the bumps in Singapore. Now, while Lando Norris is still very concerned going into the race weekend, that's not quite the same for Max Verstappen, who says that while it's definitely going to be tricky with their qualifying pace not there, he says in the race simulations that he's done, the car didn't feel too bad and that he was able to keep the tyre temperatures under control. Now, Red Bull were also very, very confused with their car, but for good reasons and for bad reasons. The good reasons was, well, Red Bull actually had some periods where they were really, really quick. But then the bad news is they had some periods where they were really, really slow. So they just don't quite know where that's coming from though. Effectively, Red Bull found that they were quick in Sector 1 with a lot more straight line. So then they took some more of that straight line speed away, added some more downforce, and then they became very good in some of the slower speed corners, then became really bad in the high speeds corners / the start finish straight. Well, that's kind of normal, right? But then they'd go ahead and make some other minor tweaks, and then they'd be quick on one straight, but then slow on another straight, but then quicking one corner, and then all of a sudden make the change that shouldn't make them slower in that corner, and then they go slower there and faster everywhere else. Basically, they're just completely lost. Jaguar are set for a tough weekend. Of course, Liam Lawson has had some good qualifying sessions in the past few races. That does not seem to be the case going into this weekend. And finally, Porsche again are looking very, very quick, as they are definitely one of the fastest teams now on the grid, and hopefully for them, they can get a good race result in. But let's go find out. It's time for qualifying and the race for the Singapore Grand Prix. Yo, what's going on, guys? It is Foxydude here, and welcome back to a brand new video and another episode of the F1 journey for you guys today here on the channel. If you guys end up enjoying today's video, feel free to drop it a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new around here as well, and I would very much appreciate it. Today, obviously, it is the Singapore Grand Prix for season number 12 now, and apologies obviously for no race last week. I was just super busy, and I had family from a different country over for the weekend. So obviously, you know, spend your time with your family, spend it with your loved ones. That's exactly what I did. Anyway, let's get into this qualifying session then. So we start our first bank lap, which is only good enough for P7 in the end here, but we're going for back-to-back runs, as we like to do throughout the course of qualifying. We've got a BMW in front of us here, who's clearly harvesting some energy or something like that. So fortunately, we're able to just go around the outside of him, going into Raffles Boulevard, and taking advantage of that. But now, of course, on my very first banker laps, I'll always run the car in hot lap mode, and then on my second and third laps, I'll then switch that so I'm in hot lap / overtake, because I have pretty much found out that the AIs do race with overtake now in qualifying, which is fair enough. So that's what we're going to be doing. But as you can see, we're about 0.7 of a second up as we go through this tricky middle sector now and try to get the hairpin right, which we do. We lose a little bit of time on entry, but we gain it mid-corner, and we'll lose a bit on exit then. But overall, we're a second up now on our previous best lap. So this qualifying lap is turning out to be pretty great. And that corner, not fantastic, but it's absolutely fine as we now make our way through this new section of the circuit. Of course, I say new, it was new last year, and of course, it is still here in this place as we just lose the rear end there on the exit there of that curb. Just getting caught out slightly, but as we go through the final two corners now, across the start-finish line here, it's a 122.6 on the dot, and that is good enough for pole position as things stand. But of course, things can definitely change in qualifying. So let's go back out for a one final run at this racetrack and see what we've got to offer. Going towards turn 1 here, we're going through turns 1, 2, and 3, and that is absolutely okay. A little bit wide on the exit of 3, but it doesn't really compromise us too much. About 1/10 of a second down. Going in towards turn 4 though, things just start to unravel a little bit and we lose a little bit more time there. So crucially, not quite getting the tyres in the best working window for the final flying lap here. And we're 3/10 down now on our previous best lap here. So we've got work to do to try and find some time here. So we need to make sure that we hook up the rest of the lap to absolute perfection. We gain a little bit of time back through this section, but unfortunately I missed the apex here for the left-hander, and well, the time that I had gained, I've lost it. So yeah, that's not very good and clever from myself, but we have to work with what we've got here. Now, as you can see, we're flicking the car through, left, right, through towards, over the bridge now, and in towards the hairpin. That was okay, but, you know, we're still 3.5 tenths, pretty much 4 tenths down on our previous best lap here. So far, not so good, but at the moment, no one seems to be improving, or beating, should I say, my lap time at the moment here. But we're 2 tenths down. We found a bit of time now through this portion of the lap. If we can get these final two corners right, we might be in the box seat here, because we made a mistake on the first lap, and annoyingly, we make a mistake on this lap as well. But the greatest thing is nobody has gone ahead and beaten our lap time, so we're starting from pole. Qualifying is done, and it is race day for the Singapore Grand Prix. But before we get into that, let's have a look at the grid and see who is lining up where. First things first, we are on pole position for the Singapore Grand Prix, setting a lap time of a 1:22.660. We managed to set that on our second flying lap in the session, and we've surprisingly, we're not actually able to go faster on our final flying lap, but no matter what, it was still good enough for pole position. Alongside us on the front row of the grid is Carlos Sainz for Audi. A great qualifying session for him. He qualified 0.2 of a second behind us on the grid, with Reese pretty much 0.3 of a second behind, starting from third. George Russell starts fourth for McLaren. Good qualifying session for him. 0.3 of a second off the pace, with Charles Leclerc qualifying in fifth, only 100th of a second behind George Russell's lap time. My teammate Oscar Piastri qualifies in sixth. A good qualifying session from himself. 3.5 tenths or so off of pole position, with Sebastian Vettel qualifying in P7, ahead of the other McLaren driver, Valtteri Bottas, who lines up P8. It's a tough qualifying session for Sam, starting in P9. Of course, it's a very difficult position to be in, and with the grid so close, it's obviously going to affect his positions. Being only 0.2 of a second behind his teammate Sainz is the difference of 7 places. Kimi Antonelli lines up 10th for Mercedes, the highest placed Mercedes on the grid, as it is another difficult qualifying session for them. Max Verstappen lines up 11th for the highest placed Ferrari on the grid. Sergio Perez is 12th for the other Red Bull drive, with Lewis Hamilton only good enough for P13, with Lando Norris only good enough for P14. No heroics in qualifying for Daniel Ricciardo. It's P15, only 0.8 of a second off of pole, with Stoffel Van Dorn a second away, starting 16th. And as said earlier, P17 for Liam Lawson, no super qualifying for him ahead of Alex Albon, who is P18. Oliver Behrman starts P19 for BMW, as Pierre Gasly lines up last, and it's time for the Singapore Grand Prix. Alright, so we're on the grid here for the start of the Singapore Grand Prix. It's going to be a one-stop race from the mediums to the hard compound tyres to take us to the end. So as you can see, we're just adjusting all of our pressures, fuel loads, all that stuff to get this race going from pole position. We've got the 5 lights that are on, and the 5 lights are off, and we can get going here in Singapore. It's a decent getaway from us, but it's a better start from Sainz on the front row of the grid. But down towards turn 1, we get the better braking point and the better entry into 1, 2, and 3, and we maintain the advantage over Carlos Sainz, and we build out a little bit of a margin straight away now as we go in towards turn 4 here, and down the straight towards Raffles Boulevard we go, and we lead this race from Sainz. I believe the 2 Porsche drivers are having a little bit of a scrap there behind, but already you can see quite a nice gap starting to filter out here as we make our way now through the middle sector. You can see the 2 Porsche drivers just trying to sort each other out a little bit there as we go a little bit deep there on the brakes now, and in towards this middle sector of the track here, just starting to suss out where we can brake, where we can carry the speed, going through these corners under full tanks, because it's such a big difference compared to doing it in qualifying. You can already see here couple of little mistakes now in this early phases of the race, but as long as we can stay in the lead, it's all right to do so while we bet ourselves in, because you can see here just missing some braking points, just a little bit scrappy here, and Sainz now has reclosed that gap that we initially built out on him over the first few corners. The first few corners 1, 2, and 3 I seem to be alright with, but it's the rest of the track here where I just need to be a bit more manageable, and of course the rest of the cars will be using their batteries in a very offensive way for the first few laps here. Around the final 2 corners though, back end slides there on the exit as we get caught out on that curb, but round the final 2 corners we go now, and a little bit wide down on the exit again, bit of understeer kicking in there. We set the fastest lap, and we are, as things stand, the race leader of the Singapore Grand Prix. Now let's have a look at the race start though. The 5 lights go out here, and like I said, it was a decent start for myself, but it has to be said, Sainz definitely got the better of the start, but taking that outside line into turns 1, 2, and 3, just look at the advantage that we're able to pull there, going through those first set of corners, and that sets us on our way here. This is on board with Reese then, who started from 3rd. It's not a brilliant start from Reese, again, just like me on my side, because there you can see the McLaren trying to get involved in the act. Also Leclerc there trying to get in on the act as well. So 2 cars then attacking Reese going in towards the first corner. Reese was able to defend against Russell on the inside, but he wasn't able to defend against Leclerc. But around the outside though, into turn 4, that's where it worked out for him. And this is on board with Charles Leclerc here. So actually, Reese has done Leclerc a massive favour here by just leaving the outside line available for him to just sneak around the outside, because while he's not going to get this move done on Reese going in towards turn 4, as we'll see, it has allowed Charles Leclerc to crucially clear George Russell. This now means, as that gets very close there, this now is going to allow both Reese and Leclerc to work together to come at myself and Carlos Sainz here. Lap 2 of the Grand Prix, and I spotted this in the race, obviously because you're seeing it. Lewis Hamilton's going backwards in this Grand Prix. Now, I had nothing on my radio to confirm that Hamilton had a problem, but he definitely does, because he's lost a place there to one of the BMW drivers. He's about to lose a place here to another BMW driver. He didn't lose a place to a BMW driver. He lost it to a Renault driver of Gasly there. Or Ricardo, sorry, my apologies. He's lost the position to a BMW driver, which I missed. He's now about to lose a position here to, I believe this is Liam Lawson, around the outside here, going in towards that section of the track there. Lovely move there from Lawson, but Hamilton just going backwards and doesn't seem to have any pace at all in his car right now. This is on board to my teammate Oscar Piastri here on lap 5 of the Grand Prix. That's a huge lockup going in towards Raffles Boulevard. He's missed the apex of the corner. Also, Verstappen there misses the apex of Raffles as well. And Oscar, rather than just rejoining the track, is actually going to let every single car go through. That's horrible for Piastri. That's horrible for us as a team, because we obviously want Oscar up there with us because he was actually having quite a decent race. Unfortunately, though, it's gonna, well, be horrible now, as that was really close there between Valtteri Bottas and Sam going down the straight there towards Raffles. Sam losing the back end there, but just about keeping it in check. Lap 6 of the Grand Prix. You can see now that we're building a gap over Carlos Sainz. We start to feel a little bit of a rhythm and momentum coming in this race, but that's going to go out of the window because the safety car has just come out. And here is why. It's for Lando Norris in the Ferrari that spun round. Now, unfortunately, I actually caught this very late, to the point where all I could see was just that spin through there. So, yeah, Lando Norris caught out there, going through the hairpin and just losing the back end there. And that has caused the safety car to come out. And that does mean that we're all now coming into the pits here to get rid of these medium compound tyres and to get the hards on and to go to the end of the race. That is the plan for us in this race. We box now, but we've got a big problem here. We're being held in the pits. We can't go anywhere because Leclerc has to come out, has to go in before we can go out. So we've lost a whole heap of time here, and we're going to lose a whole heap of places in all of that. The question is, how many places have we just lost from that pit stop? There is at least 3 cars in front of us. The safety car is on the exit of 3. So Sainz is going to lead this Grand Prix. Reese is second. Russell is third. We have dropped down to 4th now in this race, thanks to the problems of the safety car bunching us up in the pit lane and costing us crucial amounts of time in this race. That is horrible for us, but we've got the safety car coming in this lap. It's lap 8 of the Grand Prix. We've just got to get on with it now, and we're going to get ready to go racing once again here. We've got the jump on George Russell down the start-finish straight here towards turn 1. We were behind Russell when at the start-finish line, so this move is 100% allowed, and we're up a place straight away on George Russell. That's a critical move for this Singapore Grand Prix. Sainz now leads the race. Reese is second, and then we're now in third as things stand. Lap 10 of the Grand Prix, though, whatever they did in the pit stops for Lewis Hamilton clearly isn't working because Oscar Piastri has just overtaken Lewis Hamilton, and his race goes from bad to even worse. Lap 11 of the Grand Prix, though, we're back on board with ourselves here. We've got a nice run here on Reese towards the chicane, but he just starts to pull away in the second phase of the straight, but now down in towards these last few corners. Can we get the run on Reese? No, he's a little bit too fast through there. But I'll tell you where we're rapid, though, is this last few corners here, because we can get right past Reese there and absolutely fly past the Porsche driver, use the battery as well, and that's a great move for us. The Sainz locks up into 1 and 2 there. Now on the exit of 3, let's try and see if we can get a little bit of DRS here to attack Sainz and go for a double overtake and take back the lead of the Singapore Grand Prix into turn 4. Now the run down towards Raffles. We've raced nice and close here to the back of Carlos Sainz. We've got the DRS open. We'll go to the inside line. Oh, Sainz covers that one off. We won't go to the inside line. We'll go to the outside line and take back the lead of the Singapore Grand Prix. Beautiful racing, and don't go into the wall. That's a little bit close there on the braking in towards the apex. Beautiful moves there from ourselves. The pace is in this car, the confidence is here, and quite frankly, I absolutely adore Singapore in every way, shape or form. So, you know, it all goes hand in hand here as we're on board here with Liam Lawson that just goes right around the outside there of, I believe that was Van Dorn. So fair play to Lawson on that one. We're on board here with Sainz now on lap 17 here, who's under pressure from Reese, who defends the inside line there. Reese will try and do what I did when the safety car came in, and he's done just that. So around the outside into Raffles, and Reese takes the place away from Carlos Sainz, as unfortunately, we've just lost, and it's not George Russell, that's Kimi Antonelli that is out of the Singapore Grand Prix, and there is why he is out. It is an engine failure for Antonelli, and of course, like I say in all my videos, please ignore the drivers that pop up on the screen. You can't change their names, so obviously if you see those driver names pop up, ignore them and just wait for me to say who they are. Lap 19 though, here comes Carlos Sainz to come back at Reese at Raffles Boulevard. Around the outside goes Carlos Sainz, and he retakes second place now in this Grand Prix. We're on board here now with Sebastian Vettel, who's got a great run here on George Russell down the straight now. This is a little bit of an obscure place to make an overtake, but Vettel says, I do not care, and I'll go for it wherever I fancy it. Vettel takes the place away from George Russell, catches him napping there, but now Russell on the run down towards Raffles will come back at Vettel now. Vettel defends the inside line. Russell gets forced to go to the outside, but as we've seen a lot of the times here, the outside line seems to be the better line here, and now Vettel needs to be careful because he's got Sam right behind him, although Sam's actually dropped back a little bit on this occasion here. Oh my goodness me, Vettel with a brilliant correction there, with a snap of oversteer on the exit there, as he just went through the left-handed kink there, and just about saved the rear end of his car. That is brilliant control there from Sebastian Vettel, but on that occasion, that is not how you stop a car from spinning around there. Sebastian Vettel's gone round, and as you can see, he's got to try and get going again. We've got a safety car for the second time in this Grand Prix. You can see the panel there flashing to show that the safety car is out, and that is horrible for Vettel. It's also horrible for Sam, because Sam there just got held up behind Vettel, who had to correct himself, and Sam's lost a whole heap of places in that situation. And for the second time, we've got a safety car for that incident. And for me, well, my stint was brilliant. We built a very nice lead. Now, the problem I've got here is I'm coming into the pits now for a set of the medium compound tyres. There's my issue. Sainz goes through into the lead. Reese goes second now in this Grand Prix. We have just lost track position to at least 2 cars, maybe more. There comes another driver out of the pits now. That's Charles Leclerc. That is Verstappen right there, who we just about feed in front of, and that's okay. But this is where the problem lies. I was constantly asking my engineer, what is the gap between myself and Carlos Sainz, and he refused to tell me. So I opted to pit for fresh mediums and see where I ended up. Unfortunately, I've lost track position, but with the pace that we've got, with fresh medium compound tyres, with that type of exit off the last corner, we might just be in business here, going in towards turn 1, and down the inside of Charles Leclerc, we make up a place here. Can we make a place up already again on Reese? No, not quite, but we've got a fantastic exit now against Reese, going in towards turn 4, down we go, around the outside of Reese, and wow, the grip there that we've got on these medium tyres. Remember, every one of these drivers have been on these hard tyres now for 20 laps. We pitted at the end of, or about lap 6 of this Grand Prix. It's lap 25 now. So their tyres are so badly worn that these fresh medium tyres, with the grip and the pace that I've got around this circuit, is going to work wonders for me now in this race here. And we're already right on the back of Carlos Sainz. We've given Reese a bit of problems there, because he now needs to deal with Charles Leclerc, while I set my sights here on Carlos Sainz now as we go over the bridge now. And now as we make our way to this next zone, remember, no DRS just yet. Go a little bit wide there on the exit, but it's actually okay, because on the exit, we do get a great run here on Carlos Sainz. We're going to use some of the battery here. Will we go for it down the inside? We are going to go for it down the inside and make the move sick then on Carlos Sainz, and back into the lead of the Singapore Grand Prix, but he's tucked into the slipstream quite nicely here, has Sainz. And can he get a run now in towards the chicane? Not happening there on that occasion. We'll bounce our way through those curbs, and now we can set off into the distance and just basically go and build a massive gap here, because unless we make a massive mistake, they're 20-lap-old tyres, which will eventually go to about 25, 26-lap-old tyres, versus my, in the end, will be 6-lap-old tyres. There's a complete mismatch there, and I'm on mediums as well, to put it into perspective. And also, Charles Leclerc there has just made a move for third place in this race against Reese, as Sergio Perez there tries to defend against George Russell. He's actually done a good job of it. He actually allowed Russell there to get the inside line going in towards Raffles, and then he went and actually allowed it and stuck around the outside and took the place. So fair play to him. Perez, though, this time around doesn't want George Russell to have the inside. He wants him to have the outside line, and that's actually the way you overtake around here, apparently. And for him, that's absolutely fine. But onto lap 31 of the Grand Prix. We're actually going for a fastest lap attempt here on the final lap of the Grand Prix, because we've got the car, we've got the grip, we've got the pace, and overall, this Singapore Grand Prix weekend, we have smashed the field, and we're going to win the Singapore Grand Prix in fine style in the end. It was a little bit tricky in those final few laps, especially after the safety car came out, because I didn't know how far ahead I was from the rest of the field. So fortunately, there wasn't too many cars to overtake. But as you can see, the difference that I managed to have with my fresh medium compound tyres versus everybody else's 20-lap-old hard tyres was a rampant victory of nearly 17 seconds over Carlos Sainz in the end. Carlos Sainz, brilliant race from him actually, in fairness to him. He started the race from the front row. He got his head down, he worked hard, he had a battle with Reese in the first stint, especially even after the safety car as well, continued to fight each other, and then after the second safety car came out, it was mostly down to me making my overtake on Reese around the outside into turn 4 that basically built that gap, and then it turned into a Reese-Leclerc fight, which then allowed Carlos Sainz to just manage his own race, and he did it brilliantly, so fair play to him, and he finishes in second place in the Grand Prix. Carlos Sainz, like I said, finishes second. I didn't need to say him again. Charles Leclerc finishes in third for Porsche. He does beat Reese in the end for P4, so again, fair play to Charles Leclerc, drove a nice race, got past Russell straight away off the line and had a fight with Reese to the end. Reese finishes in P4, he'd be disappointed with that. Of course, like I said, he fought hard with Carlos Sainz and felt like he probably could have taken second place, but obviously in the end as well, that overtake that I did with him definitely cost him, and then he got stuck in a DRS fight with someone he probably didn't want to be with. Max Verstappen finishes in P5, phenomenal race from Max Verstappen. He started from P11, and he's managed to come back up into the points there, 21.7 seconds off the race win in the end. Valtteri Bottas finishes 6th ahead of George Russell, so a little bit of disappointing race there for McLaren, but I suppose in the end they'll probably take it, I guess. Vettel finishes in 8th, somehow still finishes in the points despite his spin, which did cause the safety car to come out. Sergio Perez finishes in P9 for the other Red Bull car, and Sam is finishing down in a disappointing P10. And like I said, Sam will be really angry with that because, of course, when Vettel spun, Sam was the car behind George Russell, I think it was, or Bottas, one of the two McLarens. And then as Vettel basically spun and then started and just took ages to correct himself, Sam was already in a position where he couldn't turn to get out of the way of Vettel, where everybody else could take avoiding action. So Sam lost like 4 or 5 places through no fault of his own there. So he'll be absolutely fuming with that one. For us as well, we took the fastest lap of the race on that last lap with a 1 minute 24.035. Now looking at the second half of the table, Daniel Ricciardo finishes in P11 for Renault. It's a great race from Ricciardo, unfortunately just not enough to get into the points. He finishes ahead of Ollie Behrman, who again, a good race from him. He started P19 and he worked his way up to P12, so a great race ahead of Liam Lawson, who finishes in 13th. Oscar Piastri with a very disappointing P14 for Aston Martin. He was doing quite well in the start of the race. He was in the top 6, I believe he was, and he just made that lock-up into Raffles, and that ruined his race. Lewis Hamilton, P15. Don't know what happened to Hamilton throughout the course of this race. He just had no pace, and he just kept on falling back. So, yeah, puzzling one for him. Albon finishes in 16th for Jaguar ahead of Stoffel Van Dorn in 17th. Lando Norris couldn't recover from his spin, so he finishes in 18th ahead of Pierre Gasly for Renault in P19, and unfortunately for Kimi Antonelli, he was the only man that failed to finish this Grand Prix. Now let's have a look at the Drivers' Championship and see what has happened in terms of the standings going or after this race, should we say. Well, first things first, Reese is still your championship leader for Porsche. He is at 115 points, but after the race victory and the fastest lap point for myself today, and of course Reese finishing in P4, that does mean that we have now cut back down the championship lead that Reese had, which was 19 points. It's now down to 5. We're on 110 points, and it's looking like a little bit of a family affair for the fight at the front as things stand at the moment, but of course we've got plenty of races still to go. George Russell is third in the championship and stays third on 78 points. He is 37 points behind in the championship. Charles Leclerc has jumped up from 6th in the championship up to 4th now. He is on 60 points and a total of 55 behind his teammate Reese, with Sebastian Vettel dropping to 5th now in the championship for Red Bull on 53 points, with Lando Norris 6th in the championship for Ferrari on 48 points. Carlos Sainz has also taken a leap forward in the championship and actually jumped in front of his teammate Sam, who's on 44 points, Sainz on 45 points, and the two Audi drivers starting to slowly close the gap between themselves and Vettel and Norris ahead of them. Valtteri Bottas is 9th in the championship for McLaren, with Verstappen moving into the top 10 of the championship for Ferrari on 33 points for car number 33, and it is his home race coming up next. It is the Dutch Grand Prix after this one. And then looking at the Constructors' Championship now and seeing how things have changed there. Well, in terms of positions, no one's actually swapped. Porsche are still your Constructors' Championship leaders on 175 points, and after this weekend, they've actually extended their lead over ourselves, Aston Martin, in the Constructors' Championship, as we're on 138 points. Porsche managed to score 27 points this weekend. Aston Martin ourselves could only score 26. McLaren are third in the championship, but still quite close to ourselves in the championship. I believe they're 25 points behind on 113 points. Audi are fourth in the championship on 89 points, ahead of Ferrari, who are on 77 points, with Red Bull on 65 points. It's another pointless scoring finish for Mercedes, so they are on 41 points, with Renault on 12 points. Jaguar and BMW still yet to find themselves in the top 10 to score points. But that is it for the race here for the Singapore Grand Prix. Let's get straight into the post-race notebook now and get the reaction from the teams and drivers after this race. Taking a look at the post-race notebook then after the Singapore Grand Prix, Tom's late safety car gamble pays off as he takes victory on the Marina Bay Street Circuit. It's definitely a track which Tom always goes well at, and it certainly paid off again here today as he was able to take the victory. Despite the late safety car and the pit stop meaning that he dropped places, he was able to overtake everybody on their 20-lap-old hards on his fresh medium compound tyres to romp away and take victory. Carlos Sainz drove a fine race to finish in P2, with Charles Leclerc snatching P3 away from his teammate Reese at the checkered flag. Now, while Carlos Sainz had a great race, it was not a good race for Sam, who started way down the order and then got caught up in Sebastian Vettel's own mistake to lose loads of places. And that's what made Sam angry after this race. He was very angry after another car causes him to drop places. This is something that's happened to Sam in a couple of races now this season, and it's definitely something that he's getting a little bit more frustrated with, and he definitely feels like the luck has not been on his side throughout the course of this season, and hopes that things can change around for him in the upcoming races. Max Verstappen was very happy with his Grand Prix. It was a difficult qualifying session for Verstappen, starting outside the top 10, but overall he put a great race together to get a good P5 for Ferrari. And Carlos Sainz felt like he got the best weekend possible for himself. Now, of course, the best weekend possible for anybody would be to get what Tom did and to get pole position and the race victory. But for Carlos Sainz and the Audi, he maximised what he could get out of the car by getting the front row start, crucially staying where he was, and while the Aston Martin of Tom on the day was faster, he made sure that he was quicker than everybody else to get that crucial P2 for his team. But that is it for the F1 Journey Singapore Grand Prix. Hope you guys have enjoyed it. If you have, drop it a like, subscribe if you're new around here as well, and I will catch you guys next time around for the Dutch Grand Prix. Thank you very much for watching. Take care all. Peace.